Hello, I'm Esme Murphy, and welcome to Talking Points. The enormity of the Annunciation shooting, 2 children dead, 18 other kids and 3 adults wounded, a permanent hole in a community overwhelmed by sorrow. With the shooter's death by suicide, so many questions remain unanswered. But online, a small minority of people are creating their own answers and blame they are putting on the transgender community. As a minor, the shooter legally changed their name and gender to female in 2020, but we don't know how they were identifying before the shooting. Even so, that criticism of the community is reaching top leaders, including Minnesota Congressman Tom Emmer, who said in the aftermath, Minnesota should suspend its trans refuge status, a state law that was passed in 2023. Some Minnesota politicians have rushed to support the transgender community. Mayor Jacob Frey, within hours of the shooting, saying anyone who is using this to villainize our trans community or any other community has lost their sense of human decency. Joining us to talk about this is a leader both nationally and locally in the trans community, Representative Leigh Finke from St. Paul. Thank you so much. All right, this is a very, very sad situation. I want to ask you, first of all, your reaction when you heard about the shooting.
And my reaction was one of, great sadness. This is a human tragedy, a community tragedy. We've seen too many of these shootings. We know how this is going to affect the community, which is, a tragic family loss that will take forever to process, and a community that is left scared and uncertain about the future.
When did you realize it was going to be significant, the backlash?
I mean, immediately. With the information itself, I and pretty much everyone in the community knew instantaneously the backlash would be swift. There have now been, depending on sort of some of the statuses, 2 or 3 mass shooters who have been trans. That is a minuscule amount of people in this national crisis of violence. But we know that we have been targeted with responsibility for things we have nothing to do with, for a landscape of violence far beyond our reach, and we knew the backlash would be swift. According
to the UCLA Williams Institute, there are 2.8 million trans people in the U.S. According to a study by this institute, trans people are 4 times more likely to be victims of a violent crime, twice as likely to be victims of a property crime. And the Institute also found that 81% of transgender people have thought about taking their own lives. And 42% have attempted it, 56% have engaged in non-suicidal self-injury. That's a staggering percent.
Yeah.
Are transgender people seeking help and getting help, or is help out there?
Help is out there, and I appreciate you for drawing attention to those numbers. I believe that people in the general population in the United States, they have no idea what it is like to be trans in this country and what it is, how much more pressure and scrutiny and fear is bubbling in the community. We are being targeted for things we are not responsible for, and we are losing our health care, we are losing our discriminatory protections, anti-discrimination protections everywhere.
This is the changes that have been implemented by the Trump administration. You're
Correct,
talking about,
yes. But with that, even in places like Minnesota, where we haven't lost our protections, the culture is changing, the atmosphere is changing. The air we breathe when we are in public is different now than it was in the past. And that just comes with this culture of violence, this culture of targeting and scapegoating.
Right. I do want to mention this one statistic because I found this really shocking. The Human Rights Campaign found that 78% of trans attacks target transgender people of color. It sounds like they are in an endangered group. They're really in danger.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. And one thing that people don't understand is, Williams Institute report that you mentioned finds that people of color are more likely to identify as trans, non-binary, or two-spirit, and people of color are more likely to experience violence and discrimination because of their gender identity. It is not a white cultural identity. Trans people are a part of the human fabric. We are in every community. We belong to every community, and throughout those communities, we face discrimination.
Okay. You obviously are I've run into you a few times since this happened, and you said it's been really, really tough. Where do you go from here? Where does the trans community go from here? I mean, you just hold your heads up and move on? I mean, this is a tough load to carry, which you shouldn't have to carry.
Yes. We will continue to be resilient. We will continue to fight for our rights. There is no question to me and to our community's leaders that nothing has changed for us in terms of we deserve all of our rights, we deserve our health care, we deserve all of the things everyone else in this country deserves. That hasn't changed because of this event, and it's not going to change because of the next thing we are blamed for.
All right. I have met some people who have actually moved to Minnesota because of the trans refuge status. Now, Representative Tom Emmer, who's obviously in the U.S. House, is talking about that should be revoked or repealed. How big a deal is Minnesota's transgender status in terms of transgender looking at this state as a possible place of refuge?
It's very important. I carried that law. I am the author of the trans refuge law. We have the highest percentage of trans adults of any state in the country. We said that this was a safe place to live. Per capita.
Wow.
This is the safe place to come, to live, to get your health care. Trans people listened, they moved here, and it's extremely important to the identity of our community nationally to have places that people can go. And we're not the only one. Illinois, Colorado, California, Washington, there are many states that people are migrating to. But we can't overstate the importance of having safe places to access health care.
All right. Obviously, the tragedy of Annunciation will be with us for a very, very long time. I don't think this community will ever get over it. Is there anything else you wanted to add about the impact and just the sadness of it all? Yeah,
I mean, I just want to let people know that not only is the loss that the families of Annunciation are facing just severe and lifelong, but the very fact that we have to talk about and defend our community at a time like this, it takes away from that fact. We should be giving our hearts to those families and those communities, and instead we are spending time talking about the risks trans people face. And at the end of the day, we have nothing to do with this. This is a tragic experience. We should all be supporting them, and we should not be scapegoating anyone, including trans people.
All right, Representative Leigh Finke, thank you so much for coming here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And that does it for this edition of Talking Points. Please email me with any comments and suggestions at esme@wcco.com. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Esme Murphy, WCCO News.